Welcome, everyone. This is Sabia Khatun here. I'd like to start my greeting with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you all. Today, we are going to have a discussion about the experiences and this sensitive and delicate time that we're all experiencing in this lockdown. Today, I have with me my co-host, who I will introduce you, and I have few guests who have kindly given their valuable time today to come on board and share with us their experiences, and also be able to give you all some tips and advices and suggestions of how we can all get through this together. So what I'll do now is I'll introduce you to my co-host, Mr. Josh Uddin, who is not only a life coach, but he is a CEO and founder for Think Success Life Coaching. Josh.
Thank you, Sabia. It's absolutely a pleasure to be with all of you today and to have a positive discussion around COVID-19. We know that it has impacted on our life, our financial, our emotional well-being, in terms of our physical, mental, and our friends and our family. But this is a great opportunity for all of us to get together, to share our wonderful experience, how we can all combat COVID-19 in a positive way, in a constructive way, in a way that we are able to have a normal life, be positive, be happy, and be successful in everything that we do from now on. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so who I'd like to introduce next is I've got with me Mr. Dele Rotimi, who's a head teacher from Urswick School in UK. Hello, Mr. Rotimi.
Hello. Hello, good evening.
Thank you for joining us. I also have Mr. Mohammed Hoque, who's a resident from United States of America, who's a quality assurance engineer, tax advisor, working for Bloomberg Industry Group, who's also an owner of firm Tax Experts, Interstate Tax Experts. Good evening, Mr. Hoque.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to join you guys.
Thank you. Okay, so I also have with me Mrs. Chinye Jibunoh, who wasn't able to join us with video, but is there on audio. And she's based at France at the moment, but she was a principal at a school here in UK, but she is enjoying her retirement in France. Good evening, Miss Jibunoh.
Good evening, Sabia and everyone. I'm not just enjoying retirement in France, I'm enjoying retirement in Portugal, but I'm stuck in France at the moment.
Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
I also have Dr. Mike Ali, who is a GP urologist who is based in UK and has kindly given his time. He is also a retired urologist. Good evening, Dr. Mike.
Hi there, Sabia and everybody. Good evening. Let's go ahead and talk about what's going on in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Josh.
Okay, so Sabia, before we start, I just think it would be a really great idea to share some of our own experience of how we are combating this COVID-19. So just to start off with, Sabia, could you share with us, the group, what's your experience been like this for you and your family, and how have you been able to address this in a positive way?
Okay. It hasn't been great last couple of weeks. Thank you for letting me share this. And I hope what our main aim today is that we can all benefit something from it, and we can all take something away from it and learn something from it. At this sensitive, delicate time, it's not easy. It hasn't been easy. Not only did I have my own loved one who I went through the tragedy, the fear of those moments where I thought I will never see them again. And what this situation has brought me is it's made me stronger, more spiritually, and how we held on to our faith stronger, and how families bonded more together. My mother was positive COVID, and she made a turn back in the last 10 to 14 days. She was admitted in hospital and she had the virus on both of her lungs. She was gasping for breath. And naturally, we had, I mean, personally myself, along with my siblings, my family, we all had a moment where we were gasping for breath with her. And the fear was excruciating. I can't explain, but those who are going through the delicate moment, they will know what I mean. And now, you know, I feel, okay, the worst has gone by. You know, the worst has gone by. How did I overcome it? Spirituality, the family bond kept me going, kept us going, you know, and not forgetting that the trust, you know, for me up there, you know, having that trust, following the government guidelines, following the NHS guidelines, but at the end of the day, having that faith, that kept me going, that kept my family going. And we all became researchers in the end. So what I want to bring today from my experience is the fear was there, but I am going to find ways of overcoming it. My families, my friends, and first and foremost for me is faith, having and trust up there. So I want to make sure that we can all share something and see what we can come out with. And my mother, who could barely lift her head up, doesn't stop talking now. So I'm smiling now. I'm smiling now. I'm happy. And I want to share that. And I want to tell people we don't despair. There's hope. And we have to keep going. Yeah.
Well, Sabia, thank you for that, because that sounds like faith played a really important part in you and your family to overcome this difficult challenge. Would you like to share anything else in terms of how practical stuff that you've done, you know, to overcome this and the support you had?
The support we had, we all played a part. Some of us looked into and researched into, okay, is there any herbal medication? Is there anything that we can, you know, realistically do? Like small things like, okay, she needs to build her immune system up. What did my brothers find out? Vitamin C, black seed oil. I'm sure Dr. Mike Ali can, you know, enlighten us a little bit further on that. If I may ask Dr. Mike Ali if he can elaborate a little bit on that too.
Well, Sabia, I'm a scientific man, and homeopathic medicine, alternative medicine is not my cup of tea. Although there are papers written about black seed oil and various other things, they help the immune system, but I'm not really too sure about it. So I will pass that. However, they're talking about medications. We know that COVID-19 has got no cure presently, no prophylaxis, but the United States, they have come up with 2-3 drugs. These are drugs used for conditions like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis.
Sure.
And antibiotics, I mean, chloroquine. And
sorry, it's not. But antibiotics do not work on virus. Sorry.
No.
I'm an ex-science teacher, and
yeah.
What, you know, at the end of the day, the best way to combat a virus is to get a rest, plenty of rest,
Okay.
and also to make sure that your immune system is strong enough to be able to handle it. But antibacterial treatments will not work on a virus. I just want to state that.
That's a valid point, Miss Jibunoh, because that is what worked for my mother. That is what worked for my siblings. And we saw that it's building up the immune system, like you're saying.
System, yeah, of course. When you're
to help fight, yeah.
I think you're right. Antibiotics do not have any effects on viruses. As I said earlier on, that there's no cure, there's no prophylaxis. United States have come up with hydroxychloroquine, and along with that, they give the antibiotic, and they've seen some degree of improvement. This antibiotic they use is a very potent antibiotic, it's a thiopurine. But at the end of the day, the research is still going on. Once we can isolate the virus, and then we can hopefully look for a vaccine. Because the important thing is, you see, this virus hit us very, very rapidly. You know, this is one of the coronaviruses. Coronavirus, it's a family of viruses. There are loads of coronaviruses. It's not the only one. You know, coronaviruses are a family of viruses which cause common cold to some severe diseases like SARS, which is severe acute respiratory distress syndrome, and MERS, which is the Middle East, similar kind of thing, respiratory distress syndrome. Now, looking at this, you see, we know about SARS, how the transmission had happened. I mean, you know, these kind of coronaviruses, they are present in animals. We know about that. And as you know, SARS actually went from civet cats to humans. And the MERS, which affected the Middle East, which actually occurred in the Middle East, and it actually came from a type of camel. So, right this minute, yes, of course, the lady in France, she's correct. I mean, rest is very important. Of course, keeping safe, keeping a distance. And if you have symptoms, of course, I mean, there, of course, the government has given a catalog of lists of, you know, advices, you know, what to do rather than hitting the surgery. You know, surgeries are not seeing patients. I mean, if somebody presents with
So if I can just stop you there, Dr. Mike. Basically, what we want to get out of this is this COVID-19 that everyone is experiencing, the impact it's having on families and on their health, their jobs, their mental, emotional, and physical being. You know, we want to explore and discuss, you know, what positive things have actually come out of it. You know, and we've seen so many documentaries, so much going on in the news that, you know, this is what the virus is. This is what it's doing. We need to maintain, you know, social distancing. We need to have cleanliness. You know, washing hands. That's all part of it. You know, we just need to, you know, see how everyone is actually doing that.
Can I come in?
Can I just add something here?
Hold on. Do you want to come in first, Chinye, and then Hoque, you can come in after. Chinye, do you want to come in first now? Share with us?
Well, in terms of this whole issue touching people, we escaped from, and I say escaped from the UK because I certainly didn't want to be locked down in the UK. But we're fortunate enough here. We've got 3/4 of an acre of land to you know, to enjoy. But we escaped from the UK, obviously leaving family, etc. behind. But whilst in the UK, whilst here, we've had news that firstly an ex-colleague from a previous school has died. He was within the vulnerable age range, and then another very valuable friend and ex-colleague from my last school has been in isolation in hospital. Someone that obviously Sabia will know, but he's making a full recovery. So I think there are very few people around the world that this whole thing hasn't touched. And the best thing for us to do is to make sure that we try to maintain contact with people, just check on people, just check in on people to make sure that even if you don't have it or you don't have symptoms, for people to be stuck in their house, especially in somewhere like London, it's important that we get to hear people's voices and know that someone is thinking about us.
Yes. So it's all to do with positivity. Sorry, Josh, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say that's really interesting. So before I want to explore this bit more, me and Sabia, but can we just add, Hoque, you wanted to add something else? Please share with us your thoughts.
Right. Yeah, I just excuse me. First of all, I want to thank you guys, Josh and Sabia, for giving me the opportunity to share some of my experience here. And I feel privileged to be sharing this. I'm not a medical expert, but I know at the moment in the United States, the FDA have approved, and what we are doing is there is a testing currently going on with the antibody testing. Basically, what this would do, it would actually find out that if, let's say, I go for antibody testing, basically whether if I had the virus in me, and then if it resolved by itself. I think that's a great news, and I think if that would eventually lead us to kind of come out of this situation, and hopefully slowly or gradually, we can come back to normalcy. So I think that's a great. I just wanted to share that. I know this is happening right now.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Can I ask Dele? Can you share with us your experience of how you're addressing to deal with COVID-19, and what are your methods and skills that you're doing in terms of managing this situation?
Thanks a lot, Josh. It's Dele, by the way. Thank you for having me on your show. So I am head of school of a secondary school in East London, and obviously it's been a very testing time for school communities. I refer to schools as being one withdrawn from the front line, as it were. We're not on the front line, but we're one withdrawn from the front line because the government has asked of schools to maintain a kind of public and civic duty in terms of keeping open to cater for the children of key workers and some vulnerable children. Now, the whole episode with COVID-19 has obviously had a almost catastrophic impact on school communities. We've had students who have been studying for landmark exams for 2 years, having that taken away, just in the blink of an eye. We obviously have families who have been impacted like other families with sick relatives, so on and so forth. And we just have the normality of life withdrawn for millions of children. And I think that one thing that's been really palpable is the fact that everybody now realizes just how important schooling in the wider sense is for children. And I think actually that is one positive thing if we hold on to it post COVID-19. Because I think education for too long has been seen in a very narrow construct, which, to be quite honest, has been government driven, all about searching for certain standards in terms of headline measures for schools, so on and so forth. But education is a lot wider than that. It's about building communities. It's about teaching students wider skills about resilience and how they actually communicate and cooperate in the wider world. So I think that's one real positive thing coming from COVID-19 is we have had a couple of years of real divisiveness in the UK society around things like Brexit, which has really caused real cracks and fissures in communities. And I think we are all in it together. That mantra of we are all in it together has actually been very important in showing young people that look, we are stronger together.
I think Chinye wanted to add something onto that as well. So,
Dele, one of the things that obviously, as an ex-head teacher, that has interested me in this whole development as far as education. Firstly, I take my hat off to you because I am so happy that I don't have to be in that environment, having to make the decisions that you are making, and I really do admire the fact that you're still in there and still doing that. But one of the things that over the years, and unfortunately, Michael Gove is responsible for most of this. The trust in teachers to actually assess and to determine just how well their students are capable of doing or are doing, that has been eroded for many years. And now, this year, the trust has to be placed back on teachers to actually make the assessment about where their students are. So it will be interesting going on from this, whether or not we're going to go back. And I'm a
Yeah.
cynic. They'll probably go
If,
back
if I
to the
can,
usual.
yeah, if I can just say about this online studying that the students are doing, I've got 2 young adults in my own home. I've got an eldest who's supposed to be graduating this year. Now, they are set exams to do online. Basically, you know, as far as
But it will be,
she's concerned,
teachers marking them. It will be teachers marking them.
Yes. So
Yes,
and then there's that downside. Oh, you know, are we going to have a graduation at all? You know, so it's what do we do to uplift these young students? You know, I've got another youngster who's at secondary school level, year 10. Thankfully, she doesn't have GCSEs this year. So there's that where there's going to be no exams for GCSEs and A levels. How is that affecting the children's mentality?
Well, Sabia, I think, can I just add something here? I think it's very important what you just highlight. I think the reason we're having this podcast is because we want to share how we are all coping with this in a positive way. Of course, it's impacting our education, in our job, in our health, yeah? So in light of this, can we focus on our discussion of what we can do to manage this in a positive way? So can I ask everyone to share something in terms of how are you coping with this, being at home 24/7 with your family? What are you doing to make it normal, to have a positive dialogue with your family, to keep daily routine? So can I start off with that with Dr. Ali? What are you doing to keep this as a normal under this difficult circumstance? What are you doing?
You see, when you're a retired person, when I retired, I mean, I said, well, I need to do a lot in my home, and apparently I've been doing that ever since. And when COVID hit us, I don't think it interrupted me a lot. I do my exercises. I'm still doing a lot of housework. I'm still doing a lot of gardening, and I'm up and about. Friends of mine to say, my God, Mike, when are you going to stop all this? I said, look, it never stops. COVID is here. Well, distance. I mean, the most important thing is follow the advice which has been given to the public in general. You know, keeping safe. I mean, those are the most important things. Yes, shopping, of course. I will go shopping and I will wear my mask and I will take all my wipes and everything. And of course, you need to respect the social distances. You need to respect, you know, where you are heading to. Because, you know, there are people out there, you know, and at the same time, as from the impact point of view, it has affected me a little. Why? Because my 2 daughters, you see, one of my eldest daughters is a GP, and I'm always constantly in contact with her, you know, advising her, darling, remember, follow the first principles as you're going to the theater, you know, how you should be progressing over there, you know, washing hands, very important. Mask, very important. Keeping social distance, very important. And my other daughter is there too, you see. And at the end of the day, contact is always there by telephones. I don't have to go and visit them. They don't have to come to me. They call me in the morning. They say, hi, Dad, how you doing? I said, I'm fine. Just been on my jog this morning. And how was it? Great.
Okay.
That, you know, I mean, I keep myself very healthy. Depression, anxiety. And supporting them is so important.
What I'm gathering from you there, Dr. Mike Ali, is that just a few minutes of exercise can increase energy levels, improve mood, and reduce anxiety, stress, even depression. You know, all of which can make you feel drained or unmotivated at some points in life. You know, so
I don't think we need to stop doing what we have been doing all the time. Yes, it's just that follow the advice. You know, we want to live. Come on. I mean, that's the most important thing. You know, people talk about education and all this kind of work and all, but first and foremost thing is, wait a minute, if you're not healthy, you're not going to carry on with that thing. So
basically,
I do understand.
Josh,
Yeah, what I was going to say,
I do
so
understand.
in light of this, I want to move this bit more forward. So I want each of you, start with Huck. Can you start off and say, what are one of the tips that you'd give us to stay mentally positive during this difficult time?
Right. Thank you. So I think these days we see people are, like, especially media, focusing too much on, negativity. And I think it's important to highlight that, in USA today, there are about 22,897 cases that, people that have been, recovered from the COVID-19. And I think I want to give a shout out to all the health professionals. I know they're in the front line. They're like our hero right now. They're doing tremendous amount of work, risking their life. Personally, I think things have changed for me, but I think what's more important for me is that I have to just accept the reality. I think the most important part is to accept the reality that I have no other choice. I have to do this not just for myself, but for my family, for my neighbor, for the community, and world at large. And I think in doing so, once you accept your reality, you are able to adjust. So basically, emotionally, physically, mentally, we have to adjust. So one of the things that keeps me going spiritually, I like to pray to my God. I, try to wake up early in the morning. I like to try to go for a walk as much as I can. I need to improve on that, but I think exercise definitely helps. But definitely, I need to improve on that. Physically, I think I personally like to reach out, right? Reach out to the people who need help. Now, I understand with our current circumstances, it might not be possible to physically going, but not necessarily. You can help with people mental support. You can help people with financial support. You can help people with whatever that you are expert at. Maybe sharing a link, maybe sharing a supplement you're taking. Maybe that's something that have worked for your friend, that they're taking some sort of supplement or medicine or whatever it is that can help someone. So I think what our audience should be thinking, or our family should be thinking, that how can I do something to make a difference so that it can benefit everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Mr. Huck, thank you for sharing that with us, because that's really valuable. Because what you just said is about daily routine, it's about having positive energy, praying. That's worked for you. So I want to move that on now forward to ask Mr. Rotimi, in light of as a head teacher, what would you say to young people that you have experience of working with them? How could they be keeping positive in light of this difficult situation, and what would you like to share with them?
Well, it's a real challenge. And as Chinye was saying in France, you see that me and her come from instinctively the same place. I don't really want to talk about my experiences. I'm not interested in my experiences. I don't think Chinye is either. I'm interested in the children. I'm interested in the kids, as they say, that old cliche, are our future. And no matter how much we are suffering through this situation, the hidden impact of this situation is on the youth. Mental health issues coming out of this are going on at the moment, and coming out of this are going to be monumental. I lead in a school that is designated by the DFE as the 11th most deprived school in the country. I can assure you that comes with a hell of a lot of challenges. So the first thing that we did before, because we had that 2 day or 1 or 2 days where we probably thought it was going this way with the kids, was just to make sure that we did enough in terms of communicating clearly to them where we thought this was going, and to inspire them to look at opportunities in the face of uncertainty.
Excellent.
Because that is one missing chink here for a lot of people. A lot of people, when they're faced with uncertainty, fold because they think uncertainty feels very kind of like ambiguous. It feels destabilizing. But actually, when you unpackage uncertain situations, they are actually wrapped around change. And change always has an element of opportunity. So we are telling the children, look, education is not just about physically being in school. It's not just about 1 year. So those of you who've missed out on an exam year, I know it's difficult, but you need to think of education as a lifelong process. Okay, there are
Yeah.
things that you are going to learn in this situation, being at home, that you would not have learned in school. There are going to be ways of communicating that you are going to learn about. You are going to become more resilient learners, more independent learners, and these kind of things are things that we have to, bring to the forefront. And in education as well, we are looking at the way we are starting to communicate with these students remotely, and this might be a sea change in terms of some of the things that we do educationally going forward.
Yes, so it's obviously setting goals, achieving them, having a sense of control and purpose at the end of the day. From what you're saying, Mr. Rotimi, that they need to be made aware that, as you have mentioned, education isn't just about the books. There has to be some element of life skills to be learned from that. So that's really brilliant. Miss Jibunoh, is there anything you could add on to that?
Well, not really. Well, just one thing. A member of staff, ex-member of staff, said a very interesting thing to me, that a lot of the students at the school, the school where I was at, were actually very, very frightened and about the whole situation. And
naturally,
he was reassuring a lot of the students, as were other staff. And I think that's important to remember, that not every parent will be in a position to explain the situation to students and to their children. And a lot of teachers have had to fill that position, the ones who are actually going in before, and the ones before the schools actually broke up. So it's very important that, for me, I think this is a fantastic opportunity for parents to rediscover their children and re-engage with their children, not just stick them in front of the
having that quality time, isn't it?
In front of the computer. There's only, even children will get bored with their games, and at some point you have to re-engage with your children and start to talk to them and get out the old board games and play games with your children, or even exercise with your children. It's important. And friends of mine have been posting things on Facebook where they do family Olympics in the garden. So it's heartwarming. It really is, that families can rediscover themselves.
Let's get them engaged with books.
Yeah, and reading.
Yeah, can I just add something here?
Yeah.
It's interesting to listen to all of you saying, in light of what we're going through, and there's a lot of positive experience that all of you are sharing. So as a community and what we experience, what would you say are some of the tips that can help individual in isolation or in families that they can use every day to make their life more manageable and more positive? So can I start that with Dr. Ali? Can you give us one tip of how to stay positive every day?
I think I'm a health fanatic. I think exercise is very important. And even though if you live in London where you don't have any gardens, I mean, I've been reading. In fact, my daughter, she lives in London.
Gardens in London.
Pardon?
Some people have gardens.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's some. I mean, people nowadays. Wait a minute. Nowadays, more young people are living in flats. You see, they're gardens.
I know, but not everybody.
And of course not. Of course not. I mean, I said if you don't have a garden, I mean, there are a lot of things happening online. You see yoga classes and exercise classes, and you can get engaged into that. I think that's so important. And
you're speaking my language.
Huh?
You're speaking my language. I do 3 or 4 hours of exercise every day. I advocate that.
That it sounds like that is the way.
I think
the exercise is the way.
Just because we got this dreadful disease doesn't mean that our life should stop. We should carry on with it. Yes, of course. You see, when isolation is there, I mean, kids are going to get bored. I mean, certain things are going to happen in the family. You're right, okay. This thing has probably brought the families together. But at the same time, seeing everybody every day, come on, it becomes a bit monotonous, and then frustration builds up, and there you are. That's where we need these extracurricular activities like gardening, like, exercises and all the other things, writing letters to, people in their residential homes. I mean, they are saying something about it.
Share a book.
Well, can I just come on that again? I just want to move this a bit more forward, the discussion. So, what I want to ask this,
Josh. Sorry, before we do that, can I ask you, Josh? What do you suggest for those who are, say, in a more vulnerable situation? In a more vulnerable situation, bearing in mind they're probably in a council apartment somewhere. They're probably, the obvious would be an elderly. There could be a single parent. How, being in like one room confinement area, how would you suggest that they keep going? In this isolation.
Well, I'm really grateful that you asked me that question. I like to share some of my experience because I think it's really important to maintain a sense of hope and positive thinking. Right? Of course, it's going to be challenged if you're living in a small environment where it's 2-bedroom flat, you've got no garden, or you've got lack of space. But remember, as human beings, we have been through this difficult time many of time in our centuries in our life. We are creative. We got solution. We got imagination. We got ideas. Now, one of the little steps that we can do together, we look at how we communicate today through the internet, right? You've got enough resource and information out there. Say if you're lonely, you can contact mine. You can contact voluntary organisation, your support group, communities that can help you to bring your medication, that can give you support around making a phone call, or give you information in terms of how to get access to health or any other activities in your area. You can use the YouTube to do small exercise, meditation, praying, or learning new hobbies. What is really important through this difficult time is to maintain a normality, be normal. It's trying to keep a normality every day. Relaxing, having a daily routine, like getting up in the morning, having your shower, having your breakfast. Imagine you're going to work, put your work dress on, sit down, imagine you're at work, taking a break. And also, one of the fun activities that you can do together as a family, cooking together, making new recipes, baking. So, you can do creative stuff like all of you have mentioned, like reading, writing, doing a diary. I think one of the good exercises for mental health well-being is you can do a daily journal of what it's been like for you. It helps you to write it out, put on paper, and also having a goal. Remember, we have small goals that we do every day, from getting up in the morning to going to work. So try to create that every day. Keep it focused. Make it focus. If you're feeling lonely and you've got no one to talk to, you can phone the Samaritans. You can phone other associates or try to talk to your neighbour. I'm not going out. But keep talking to people. That will help you mentally, emotionally, and physically. Also, if you like...
And I suppose you recognise your accomplishments along the way as well as you are doing that, yes.
And the other thing I would say, be gratitude. Be grateful that you're alive, that you got a lot of resources around you, you got your health, and unfortunately some people haven't. In saying that, I think it would be great to listen to other people in terms of our guest here, how they have maintained positive attitude through this difficult time. Again, like sharing. So can we ask Chinye, in terms of you and your experience, what would you say one of the key areas that you can advise us on how to keep more positive in this and being safe at this particular time?
I think
Chinye
it's
in
important.
France.
I think it's important to have routines. There's a danger that people just get in the doldrums and they don't have a routine. Try and have a routine. And one of the things about this place that we have here, we've had a list of things that we've wanted to do for ages, but because we've got some of the most fantastic beaches around here, whenever there's a nice weather, we jump in the car, we go to the beach, and all the jobs that we need to do have not been done. But I can assure you, all the jobs are being done, and it's so satisfying once we finish. So make a list of things, of jobs around that need doing, and just start from number one and work your way through it. You'll find that time goes very quickly.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I agree. I concur.
Okay. Huck, would you like to share anything else with us in terms of how to keep fit and being positive and maintaining daily routine?
Yeah, absolutely. I think taking small walks with your family. I sometimes do that when I have a 3-year-old and my wife. We just I know we are maintaining social distance, but we can go outside of our house and just do maybe a couple of blocks, come back, right? Still maintain distance with the neighbor and people outside. I think. Yeah, and I think you pretty much covered a lot of the things.
Yeah.
Especially what I really like about like keeping a diary. I think that's something that really because like you can kind of resonate on it and then come back later and then kind of remember the tough time we're going through. I might
It's
want
part
to look
of the
into that
memory. Yeah.
as a memory, right? Especially I think since I'm in IT. Most of the time I'm outside, right? Now this gives me an opportunity to stay. So that's a positive thing because now I'm able to spend more time, with my kid, with my family, and I think I appreciate that. And not only that, what I realize is that I give value to the things that we once used to take as granted. Let's say, going to mosque, going to a grocery shop, going to see a friend, my family, now all those things are cut off. Now, because all those things are cut off, we realize the value of it. And I think that kind of strengthened my relationship, our relationship, between our families, between our friends, between our communities. And I think that's important. And I think the other thing I want to just highlight is that I personally have a couple of my friends who are diagnosed with COVID-19, and I think what helps them is basically try to talk to them, see what they need. I think like sometimes when you call them, you realize it might be very minor thing to do, but it is very important for them. Especially it boosts their energy and gives them a hope that there is
Gives them a bit
for them.
Motivation, doesn't it? I mean, it's always those small, simple things that we have taken for granted. If I could ask Mr. Rotimi, how would you give any tips and advice to like the students of how they can manage their goals, without being too hard on themselves and without having been thinking like, oh, we've got work we need to do which is online and that's it. How would you give them any tips and advice to be kept motivated and keep going?
Well, I do think, as Chinye said some moments ago, that structure is very important. I actually do feel that they do need to keep their hand in with the work that's been set for them by teachers, because they need to. The brain is like a muscle as well. It needs to be exercised and it needs to be stretched. So they need to keep in that kind of habit, and they need to see education as a lifelong process, and be positive about that, and be positive about different ways of learning. I think we need to enthuse the youngsters about things that we used to do, which they have long left behind, which is get into the books, read books. And if our generation read more books, perhaps we should be suggesting books that we read to the younger generation, because books have a fantastic ability to take you on your own particular journey with that book. Everybody has their own
read it with them. Read it with them. Club. Read it with them.
Agree.
Absolutely.
And the last thing I would say, just generally, just the importance of communication at this time. I think this is a time where people are seeing with sad cases of relatives being ill, and once they're out of the house, and there's very often no communication with them.
Yes.
People are seeing the importance of communication, and I know personally a lot of people who have decided to put some pettiness to the side. Situations that they were involved in before, which all of a sudden now look petty, which all of a sudden now look negative. They've decided to, as the young people would say, squash the beef. They've decided to squash the beef. And there is now, they've led themselves to a more positive environment with a lot of people, and they found that to be healing, and they found that to be refreshing. And I think that this is a moment for all of us to really look around ourselves and our communications with other people and say, look, this situation I had before, was it really necessary? Do I need to maintain that kind of negativity in my life? And just reach out. And everybody is receptive at this moment.
So the important message we want to put across really is, if you see anyone, who's in need, direct them to, like Josh was mentioning, a phone call, maybe, there are a lot of befriending services out there now. There are a lot of charities and local businesses who are, going out of their way supporting. And this is what we are seeing that's come out of this, this positivity where people are, helping each other out. Organizations.
I have a friend who's done something very interesting. So she said to me, I noticed that in my address book on my phone, I can't remember how many names she said it was there, something ridiculous, 70, 80 names in an address book. And she goes, I realized that on a regular basis, I only speak to a small fraction of these people. But they are in my address book. I've accumulated them for years, or they're on my Facebook. And she has been calling everybody on her address book, three people a day, she said. And therefore communicating with people that she haven't heard from her in a long time. And she said every single
amazing
has been positive, welcome.
Amazing.
And just left her with a spring in her step, and she's sure a spring in the step of the person that she's spoken to. So I thought that was quite an interesting approach.
Can I just say something on that? As we're talking about positive energy, and as a life coach, I like to emphasize this, right? To all of us, our listeners, and all of us on the podcast today, remember this: your limitation is only your imagination, right? You possess the most powerful force in this universe is your mind. You try and focus on things that are positive in your life. Acknowledge your feeling. It's normal to feel overwhelmed and stressed and anxious or upset, among other wide range of emotional reaction to this particular situation. But remember this: we will get through this because we will have the resource, the skills, the energy, and the determination to overcome this. We have done this over centuries, and we will do this because we are human beings. We have been gifted the knowledge and the skill and determination to live, and we will do this. And I would just like to say to everyone, be kind, be reflective, be grateful for what you have. There is enough resource and support group out there to help you to overcome this difficult time, and share your knowledge and your skills with other people so that they could benefit from this and fulfill their, hope and aspiration.
No, there's some very deep things, but yet very simple things, Josh, that you have mentioned, and it's given us all that opportunity to take a step back and reflect in our ways, in our own ways, of how we can, keep going. Yes, it's a very delicate situation. Yes, there are a lot of negativity going out there. Not everyone's pain is going to be the same level as the other. So we will all be dealing with it in our own different ways. But also what I've seen happening is people are going forward in trying to see in whatever way they can help. And for me, that is worldwide. That is a unity. A unity.
Sorry, I was going to say this. Through this difficult time, we have seen so much kindness from people, helping each other, volunteering, sharing information. Look at the government, the way it has given people a resource like money, saying that you don't have to pay your business rate or, income at the moment, tax. So everyone's coming together. What this has taught us is that as a humanity, we all need each other. We need to collectively fight this, and we can't survive without each other. No man is an island. We are all
There
in
is
it
a
together.
community.
That's what he has taught
There
us.
is such a
That
thing.
there is
There is such a thing.
Yes. Sorry, Chinye.
I said, if there is, as even Boris Johnson was forced to admit, there is such a thing as a community.
Yes.
I don't want to bring us on a downer, and I know this is supposed to be positivity, but can we just remember, please? I think it's important for us all to remember that there are people out there in very, very difficult relationships,
Yes.
or in
Yes.
families,
Yes.
or in families where children are in an abusive situation, and we need to be reaching out in very sensitive ways, and at
Mhm.
least being aware of these things. Let's not get carried away with how we're all so wonderful now, because the whole world isn't wonderful, and there are
No.
some people out there, and if you know of them, just try and keep an eye on them as well, please.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a very valuable things you have said in terms of people
It
living in
needs to be
difficult situations.
acknowledged, most
Yeah.
definitely, because we're all, as I was saying earlier on, Josh, as well, that we're all, we all come from different backgrounds. We have different level of hurt, different level of, ways we deal with things. Something small that hurts you, it's probably nothing to you, but it might be a very big thing to someone else. So it's about being mindful as well, and seeing how we can go forward and make a little bit of difference, even if it means your next door neighbour that you hardly see, and stop by and have a chat.
So I'm sorry, guys, but I have to go. But I just wanna close by saying that I would like to thank you, Sabia and Josh, for giving me the platform, and I think I'll definitely share with all my friends. And I think everyone who talked, I think I learned a lot from you guys, and all the best. And hopefully, inshallah, we can fight this all together.
Sure.
And my love and prayer to everyone. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hoque. Yeah, thank you, Hoque, for joining us and sharing us your skills and knowledge. Thank you very much. Have a lovely evening. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
I think we're coming to almost the end of our program shortly.
Okay.
So is there anything else you would like to add on, Josh?
Well, I would just say again, thank you to all our guests who came on and sharing the thoughts, the ideas, and the positive energy. Really appreciate it. Dr. Mike, China, and Mr. Ratman, thank you for coming to us. It was wonderful for you to all join in this podcast and share with us, with me and Sabia. Really, really appreciate this. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to say quickly before we finish this, three of you?
No, I'd just like to wish everybody the best. Stay safe, listen to the government's advice, do not take risks. And as other people have said more eloquently than me on this show, we will get through this together. And I'm sure that on the other side of it, there'll be a lot of growth for people individually and for us as communities as well. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. So we maintain the social distancing. We maintain the hygiene. That this lockdown is there for a reason. Protect yourself, protect others. Don't think you're invincible, because none of us are. And we all want to get out there. We want our good things like it used to be, but we need to deal with it at this current climate and the situation it is. There are reasons and there are rules in place for a reason. And safety and protecting yourself is a main key thing, because if you've got the virus, you can't move, you can't breathe. Everything else becomes, there's nothing else there left, is there? So
no. I wanted to say something before we finish, and I'm sure all of you may, possibly agree with me with this. It's going to be hard, but hard doesn't mean it's impossible. As long as we all remember, as you all said, be safe, look after each other, be nice, we're going to get through this. That's all I wanted to share with you all.
Thank you. I'd like to thank all our guests this evening. Thank you for your valuable time. We hope that, we can get something out of this, gain a benefit out of this. And, I leave with you with just one thing that, sticks to me and my mind is keep faith. Keep your faith and, maintain those guidelines because they are there for a reason. Stay home, stay safe, save lives.
And also just to like to say to the audience, beware. There will be another one podcast coming very soon. Look out for the update from Sabia and Shah and myself, and we look forward to getting back and chatting to you again. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you very much, and like us, comment on us, and share us. For more positive things that we would like to bring and benefit you not only nationally but internationally and globally. Keep liking Vodcasts. This is your host Sabia Khatun with co-host Josh Uddin.
Bye, and I wish you all peace, happiness, joy.
Yeah. Stay safe.
Bye. Bye.